The big Samvidhan debate tomorrow commemorating 75 years of adopting the Indian Constitution. There's going to be a key huddle at Prime Minister Modi's residence. Home Minister Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh all currently at 7 LKM. Sources say that Prime Minister Modi will be joining the debate on the 14th of December. Big Samvidhan debate where we're looking at speakers already assigned by parties. In fact, sources tell us Priyanka Gandhi to make her debut Lok Sabha speech. Top sources on the Constitution debate tell us that tomorrow Lok Sabha will resume at 11 a.m. and the Lok Sabha will have question hour from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. The debate on Constitution Day will begin from 12 noon onwards. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is going to be initiating the debate in the Lok Sabha is what we hear. And according to sources, NDA leaders like H.D. Kumaraswamy, Shrikant Shinde, Shambhavi Chaudhary, Rajkumar Sangwan and Jitan Ram Manji along with Anupriya Patel, Rajiv Ranjan Singh will all be speaking. Sources have said that the NDA government is going to raise issues like the emergency period, fake narratives being peddled by the opposition as per their claims, multiple constitutional amendments that will be in fact spoken about as part of this Constitution Samvidhan debate that will be on the 13th and 14th of December. Around 12 to 15 leaders from the BJP are likely to speak. Prime Minister Modi to be replying on the debate of 75 years of Constitution on 14th December evening. So it seems like the structure and the agenda is set. The Samvidhan debate to commemorate the 75 years of the Indian Constitution. Both sides getting up for a heated talk. We have our reporters joining us live. Maushmi Singh joining us from Delhi. We also have Aishwarya Paliwal for more. Maushmi, a quick word and take from you as we see the Congress already gearing up for a heated debate. It seems like they've prepared their agenda with Priyanka Gandhi likely to be leading this talk, her debut speech in the parliament.
That's right, Nabila. And even as we talk, a strategy meeting of the parliamentary party is being held. And the Congress will be slotting the speakers. Almost a list of 25 to 30 speakers has been readied, and the sequence of those speakers is being finalized. But yes, the big spotlight will be on Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, whether she will be the first speaker, the opening batswoman for the Congress party as far as the debate is concerned, and that will mark as a debut speech for her. Other list of fiery speakers could be added to make sure that the attack on the government remains quite focused. The Congress has also spoken to India ally members to ensure that they have equal padding as far as the discussion tomorrow and day after is concerned, to keep the debate really pumped up from the side of the opposition.
All right. While the opposition is getting up, we also have the NDA at this point preparing nearly 15 of their speakers, the best of them, to carry forward with the Samvidhan debate. The first, as we see, is going to be a heated one. Aishwarya Paliwal, the list as the names that have been decided by the BJP NDA. Give us more, Aishwarya.
Well, let me tell you, from what we are understanding at the moment, Nabila, BJP will be using this, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be very, very fiery. Now, remember that the BJP has time and again been speaking about what happened during the last 70 years. Emergency, let me tell you, is something that will be the focus. They will harp upon the fact that the Constitution was being trampled upon, specifically during the years when the emergency was being levied on the entire country, and it was levied by none other than Indira Gandhi. So that's something that the BJP will be pinpointing. From what we understand, Ravi Shankar Prasad, Nishita Dupe, they'll be the people who will be speaking on behalf of the BJP, and almost from what we understand, close to 15 people will come from the BJP, and the others, about 10 of them, will be from the entire NDA allies. So everyone will be given an opportunity, and this is something that will be used by the BJP, not just to speak about what has happened over the past 70 years, but what has been going on over the past few months. Specifically, if we speak about the BJP, they have been speaking about a global narrative. They believe that there are forces that are now trying to break India. So those are the things, Nabila, that will be spoken about by Prime Minister and by BJP leaders.
Interesting. Well, we're going to see a fiery debate between the ruling and the opposition, both firing salvos at one another on who's violated the principles and the tenets of the Constitution. The Samvidhan debate to happen tomorrow and the after. Thanks very much, Maushmi and Aishwarya, for joining us. Now, will India see simultaneous elections soon? In a big move, the Modi cabinet has cleared the One Nation, One Election bill. Sources say that the bill is likely to be brought in to the parliament by next week. In fact, India Today has accessed some exclusive details of the government's One Nation, One Election plan. The bill may be sent to the Joint Parliamentary Committee for detailed discussion. Since the government wants consensus on the issue, sources say that the centre is quite keen that there should be a detailed discussion with all stakeholders involved. And of course, the JPC will be held to factor in the ideas and views of all representatives as well as political parties. Speakers of all state assemblies may also be called in. Apart from intellectuals, opinions of also common citizens from across the country will be factored in. Meanwhile, the opposition is up in arms. India bloc leaders from Stalin to Kejriwal to Mamata Banerjee have all condemned the cabinet nod on One Nation, One Election, claiming regional voices will be erased through this.
ये तो आज देश के लिए जरूरी है। तमाम विपक्ष की भी राय है कि वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन होना चाहिए। ऐसा नहीं कि ये कोई सत्तारूढ़ दल का, ये देश के हित का सवाल है और इसमें दूसरी पार्टियों ने भी सहमति जताई थी। अब किस तरीके से चीजें आएंगी सदन में, सभी दलों के साथ परस्पर एक सहमति भी बनेगी और विश्वास भी बनेगा और निश्चित तौर से हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि ये पास भी होगा वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन और ये देश के हित में होगा।
वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन एक उत्साह की एक लहर लेके आया है। सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज इनको इतना खर्चा होता है, 3-4 महीने में सारे अधिकारी जो है वो ड्यूटीज पे लग जाते हैं, सारे संस्थान रुक जाते हैं और सबसे बड़ी बात जो है हमारे देशवासियों के लिए उनको बार बार जो है वो प्रमोट करना, बार बार उनको भेजना वोट देने के लिए। हर साल जो है वोट देने वालों की जो है परसेंटेज कभी कभी किसी राज्यों में आपने देखा कि डिप कर रही है। तो ये दिस इज द नीड ऑफ द आवर और आई थिंक सारे ही इसके पक्ष में है, पक्ष विपक्ष सब ये चाहते हैं कि वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन होना चाहिए, लेकिन ये बहुत पहले होना चाहिए था। लेकिन ये सारे जो काम है वो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के ही कार्यकाल में हो रहे हैं।
मोदी जी ने कभी खुद दिखाया नहीं कि उनको वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन में विश्वास है। महाराष्ट्र में 5 फेज में इलेक्शन करते हैं, कभी गुजरात और हिमाचल में इलेक्शन 2 अलग तारीखों पे करते हैं। तो जब इनको मुनासिब होता है एक ही समय पे 2 राज्यों के निर्वाचन कराते हैं और जब मुनासिब नहीं होता तो अलग अलग समय पे कराते हैं। तो बिना कोई तर्क लिए ये वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन ये लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
देश में विभिन्नता ही हमारी एकता का एक बहुत बड़ा अंग है, उसको खत्म करने का जो काम हो रहा है ये दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। अब तक किसी ने हमें कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस नहीं बताया है, क्योंकि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कह दिया है कि देश के पे बहुत सारा पैसा बचेगा, तो वो पैसा बचेगा भाई साहब। कोई ये नहीं पूछा है कितना पैसा बचेगा। ये बिगर ऑपोजिशन जो है कि आप फेडरल डेमोक्रेसी पे फिर से एक चोट पहुंचा रहे हैं और आपका ऑब्सेशन के आप यूनिफॉर्मिटी लाएं गिव्स अनड्यू सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट पावर्स, क्योंकि आप अगर कोई सरकार गिरती भी है तो वो गवर्नर के हाथ में सारा चला जाएगा एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर।
Now, Parliament's winter session has almost been a washout because of disruptions. The BJP and the Congress locked in a battle over billionaires, Gautam Adani and George Soros. The lack of business in the House is resulting, of course, in wastage of taxpayers' money and ignoring issues of public priority. Nearly 117 crores that's come as a complete washout of taxpayers' money, looking at the logjam that we witnessed in the Parliament this winter session. Let's break it down for you.
Chairman sir, Congress se Rahul Gandhi se mere 10 sawal hai.
A battle over 2 billionaires, Gautam Adani and George Soros, has derailed the winter session of Parliament.
Sonia Gandhi ke saath kya sambandh hai jisko Soros fund karta hai?
The BJP once again accused the Congress of links with the American billionaire and demanded the grand old party come clean on the issue.
FDL AP जो कश्मीर को अलग देश मानता है, उसके साथ राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन पे सोनिया गांधी के साथ क्या संबंध है जिसको सोरोस फंड करता है? सोनिया और सोरोस का रिश्ता क्या है? और राहुल गांधी के अमेरिका दौरे का सारा खर्चा ग्लोबल नॉलेज इनिशिएटिव स्वयं पित्रोदा देता है, जिसको सोरोस पैसा देता है।
Your conduct, no, take your seat. Take your seat.
In the Rajya Sabha, the government attacked the opposition over its no trust motion campaign against chairperson Jagdeep Dhankar.
इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस के ऑफिशियल हैंडल से चेयरमैन को चेयर लीडर कहा गया है। इसकी जितनी भर्त्सना की जाए एंड
इस तरीके से डेरोगेट करने का, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पोजीशन को इस तरीके से डिमीन करने का जो आपने कुत्सित प्रयास किया है, जो गलत प्रयास किया है, भारत की जनता कभी माफ नहीं करेगी इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस को।
उनके जो निर्णय रहते हैं।
The Congress, on the other hand, claimed the government was running away from real issues.
ये लोग अपने विषय को भटकाना चाहते हैं, अपने विषय को भटकाना चाहते हैं।
Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha were adjourned till Friday. The opposition staged protest outside Parliament building demanding probe against industrialist Gautam Adani, who is indicted by an American court for alleged securities fraud. Protests inside and outside Parliament are draining taxpayers' money. It's important to note that every minute Parliament runs, taxpayers pay 2.5 lakh rupees. In an hour, this amounts to 1.5 crore rupees. For 6 hours of daily proceedings, the cost is around 9 crore rupees. Over 13 days, 117 crore rupees has been spent on running the Parliament. The government had agreed to a discussion on Friday to mark the 75th anniversary of the Constitution. The face-off between government and opposition has now cast a cloud on the special occasion. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, now the Mahayuti cabinet drama rages on as Mahayuti Sarkar now grapples with portfolio allocations. Chief Minister Fadnavis has met with Prime Minister Modi in Delhi with his deputy Ajit Pawar, scheduling a meeting there to talk about the crucial cabinet expansion. Now, BJP's top brass, we hear, are insistent in some of the key portfolios to retain them. The meeting is expected to focus on key portfolios, but Eknath Shinde's absence from this meeting really raises eyebrows. Sources suggest that Shinde may not secure his demand for Home Department. India Today, in fact, has some exclusive inputs into power sharing formula. BJP is likely to part with, in fact, they're unlikely to part. They're very adamant on heavyweight ministries. They're also likely to drop off some tainted ministers, as what we hear. In fact, Chief Minister's loyalists, that's Devendra Fadnavis's loyalists, and his men are likely to dominate the cabinet allocations. Fadnavis is tipped to retain Home Ministry. Shinde may settle for revenue or PWD, while Ajit Pawar could secure power or irrigation. Now, it's taken 11 days for Mahayuti Sarkar to reach a consensus on the Chief Minister. And on December 14th, the likely date for cabinet expansion, it appears that Mahayuti's Troika has now a new challenge to combat.
विस्ताराचा कुठलाही तिढा नाहीये. पहिल्यांदा तर तुम्ही ज्या काही बातम्या चालवल्या त्याचं क्लॅरिफिकेशन देतो की अजित दादा त्यांच्या कामाने आले, मी माझ्या कामाने आलेलो आहे आणि आता लगेच शिंदेजींचं इथे काम नसल्यामुळे ते आलेले नाही आहेत. त्यांच्या पक्षाचे कोण असतील, शिंदे साहेबांचे शिंदे साहेब ठरवतील, अजितदादांचे अजितदादा ठरवतील. आमच्या पक्षाचे मंत्री कोण असतील याचा निर्णय हा शेवटी आमचं जे काही पार्लमेंटरी बोर्ड आहे, आमचे नेते ते घेतात. त्यामुळे काल बावनकुळेजींनी आणि मी आमच्या नेत्यांची भेट घेतलेली आहे, त्याच्यावर चर्चा केलेली आहे. प्रत्येक विभागातनं प्रॉबेबली कोण मंत्रिपदाचे उमेदवार असू शकतात, कोणाला आपण बनवू शकतो, असे एक प्रॉबेबल शॉर्टलिस्टिंग देखील त्यांच्यासोबत आम्ही केलेलं आहे. आता या संदर्भात वरिष्ठ स्तरावर ते निर्णय करतील आणि आम्हाला कळवतील.
कैबिनेट एक्सपेंशन 14 तारीख को होगा पूरा, ऐसा उन्होंने बताया.
तो सर मुलाकात हुई आज अजित दादा पवार की गृह मंत्री से, क्या क्या मुद्दे रहे जो आज डिस्कस हुए?
गृह मंत्री जी से तो एक औपचारिक भेंट थी, क्योंकि लोग अपने विधानसभा के चुनाव के बाद एक ही बार एक अल्प सी भेंट हुई थी. आज दिल्ली आए थे तो स्वाभाविक है कि उनसे मिलना, और 14 तारीख को बाकी के जो मंत्रिमंडल पूरा करना है उसके लिए भी कुछ चर्चा करना बाकी थी. जहां तक दूसरे मुद्दे थे, महत्व का था कि एमएसपी जो गन्ने के दाम है उसके बारे में भी चर्चा आज हुई. कॉटन और सोयाबीन के दाम के बारे में भी, किसानों को मदद कैसे हो सकती है, इसके बारे में भी बात हुई.
Shifting our focus to the Supreme Court today, that's issued a crucial directive on the Places of Worship Act while hearing a batch of petitions challenging the constitutionality of the act itself. The court has ruled that there will be no further suits on Mandir Masjid that can be registered until the matter is fully heard by the top court and disposed of. CJI Sanjeev Khanna said the matter requires detailed consideration. He's made it quite clear that the court is examining the wires, the contours and ambit of the act, and it's only appropriate for lower courts now to stay their hands while the issue is sub judice at the highest level. CJI has also said the court is aware of the ongoing cases concerning Mathura and Kashi disputes, stressing that the court would address these alongside broader constitutional issues that are raised, in fact, asking for all stakeholders here to hold on. The 1991 law prohibits conversion of places of worship and provides for maintenance of religious character as these places of worship existed since August 15, 1947.
देखिए, हमारा ये कहना है कि ये प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप एक्ट में बहुत साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है कि रिलीजियस कैरेक्टर चेंज नहीं होगा और रिलीजियस कैरेक्टर बिना जांच किए पता नहीं चल सकता। इसमें कहीं पे रिलीजियस आइडेंटिटी की बात नहीं हुई है, यहाँ ढांचे की बात ही नहीं हो रही, कैरेक्टर की बात हो रही है और कैरेक्टर बिना सर्वे किए पता ही नहीं चल सकता। ये तो जबरदस्ती बात हो रही है कि खुदाई होगी। कहाँ से खुदाई होगी? आज खुदाई की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, बिल्डिंग को टच भी करने की जरूरत नहीं है। राडार टेक्नोलॉजी है, जीपीएस टेक्नोलॉजी है, कार्बन डेटिंग टेक्नोलॉजी है। आप बैठे बैठे पता चल सकते हैं कि इस स्ट्रक्चर की फाउंडेशन कब बनी, दीवार कब बनी, गुंबद कब बना। इसकी जांच करना बहुत जरूरी है।
Indeed, a historic moment for Indian chess. Grandmaster D. Gukesh has become the youngest world chess champion at the age of 18 after beating title holder Ding Liren of China in the 14th and last game of quite a thrilling showdown. Before Gukesh's feat on Thursday, the legendary Garry Kasparov of Russia was declared as the youngest world chess champion when he won the title at age 22, dethroning Anatoly Karpov in 1985. Gukesh has entered the match as the youngest ever challenger in the world crown after winning the candidates tournament earlier this year. He's the second Indian after legendary Vishwanathan Anand to win this global title. Anand, a 5-time world champion, had last won the crown in 2013.
When I played Rook F2, I didn't realize that, I was going to play Rook B3 almost. But then I saw that this bishop is actually getting trapped, and after King E1, I have King E5 in the pawn ending, which is just winning. When I realized that, it's probably the best moment of my life.
All right, let me quickly bring in our correspondent, Siddharth Vishwanathan, to give us more on this. Siddharth, 18-year-old against the defending champion. Tell us a little more about what this really means for Indian chess.
This is historic in so many ways, Nabila. Looking at D. Gukesh versus Ding Liren, India versus China, we did not have a proper world chess champion for 12 years now. India is the spiritual hub of chess, as it has been mentioned, because the Olympic torch always goes from India. But now, with this win, it is the culmination of what Vishwanathan Anand achieved for 31 years when you look at it. And now, with Gukesh carrying forward that legacy and with the way how technologies improved chess streaming, this is truly one of the most epochal moments when you have to put down and look at Indian chess at this point in time.
Well, I'd like to ask you if this win itself was a result of the Chinese opponent's poor performance coming into the tournament, or was it simply down to Gukesh's brilliance?
In a way, if you have to look at it, it was just a matter of Gukesh's semi-brilliance, but more of Ding Liren's blunders. Heading into the World Chess Championship, you have to understand that Ding Liren was not in the right mental space. He was low on confidence, but Ding blundered more. And Gukesh capitalized on those blunders to ensure that he got the World Championship back home. So yes, both didn't play perfect chess. There were moments of maybe, you could say, a bit of imperfection. But Gukesh at that point capitalized on the blunders more than Ding Liren. So that's why he's the world champion.
Okay, just the second Indian ultimately to achieve this feat. But if we were to really compare his win with that of Vishwanathan Anand earlier, who also happens to be your cousin. Siddharth, give us a take on what really is the sweeter victory here.
You put me in a spot here because, see, every World Championship win is fantastic. I think Anand's win in 2007, I would rate it much higher because it shattered that illusion that Indians were not capable of winning world titles in a way. That win in 2007, I would rate it up here. Gukesh's win in the modern era with the era of social media, with all the technological advances, I would say this is a close second. But Anand's victory in 2007, when he won the unified FIDE title, without any doubts, that was the way that you have done it. But yes, Gukesh has achieved the three-peat in that sense.
You know, before I go further, I'm going to draw our viewers' attention to the center of our screens, where we're looking at celebratory images of Gukesh, who's now the youngest champion in the world, the chess champion in the world, all of 18, an Indian prodigy who's managed to make it this far, bringing back the title for India. Vishwanathan Anand also joining us. In fact, he's been a world champion himself. Vishwanathan Anand, how do you see Gukesh's victory here? India brings the cup back home.
Amazing. First of all, this goes beyond winning the world title. He's the youngest world champion in history. So that's a huge, huge achievement. And he did a phenomenal job. He managed to play extremely well in his very first world championship. And then we had this pleasant surprise today, but it was not accidental. He was rewarded for his attitude, for keeping on trying, even in a drawn position. And, you know, maybe 9 out of 10 times you don't get rewarded, but his attitude and Ding's mistake then gave this beautiful ending.
You know, Vishwanathan Anand, this comes after your victory. So, you know, I definitely ask you, what's with the number of chess prodigies coming up from South India, Tamil Nadu particularly? Your take on that? Anything special?
It's just, I'm just happy. Tamil Nadu now has 2 world champions. That's pretty great.
You know, we're also looking at the Chinese counterpart we hear, who was fairly low on confidence. This is what our correspondent tells us. Do you also believe the same?
Yes, I think Nabila...
Not entirely. Not entirely. He sometimes played spectacularly well in this match. He reminded everyone what got him the title. But occasionally he was quite hesitant. And today I think he tried just too hard to force a draw instead of simply hauling it in slowly. He seemed to almost want to force matters, and then invariably you forget something. So.
Yeah, so Vishy, I just want to ask this one question to you, okay? Gukesh has achieved the three-peat. He's won the candidates, he's shown in the Olympiads, he's now won the World Chess Championship at the age of 18. Is this now going to usher in the same golden era of chess, like what you had done because of 5 straight World Championship titles?
It's a big step, and of course, Gukesh and all our youngsters definitely have the opportunity to take this very far.
Vishy, when you look at it, did you give any tips to Gukesh during the tournament when it was happening? Like, for example, some blunders that he made in 7 and 8. Did you chat with him, or do you think he just managed it brilliantly, bouncing back when you look at the mental aspect of it?
You know, we are in touch, but he's got a great team there, and he managed to figure most of the things out on his own.
All right. Vishwanathan Anand, well, thank you very much for joining us on that. Of course, it's really a moment of pride for India, and chess particularly. India throwing up multiple champions. Here you have the latest, who's 18-year-old Gukesh D has managed to trump China's Loren. In fact, he's brought the cup home, and that's what we're absolutely delighted with. Visuals showing on our screens on the celebrations and victory at the championship that was held in Singapore. Thanks very much, Siddharth, as well.